And here we are.
And here we are. We made
Long
it.
time no see, everyone. Hey, Kayla. I'm sorry you're going to miss it. Bundle up. Go. Yeah, you always got to rub in the sitting by the ocean thing, Dan.
I know, he does. He's always got to be like, I'm just going to sit by the ocean real quick.
You're living the life, my friend.
He really is. Sounds nice.
Hey, Ben.
Hello, Melanie.
Hello.
Melanie, I know I promised I was going to send that to you, and I have not yet. Work has just been really, really crazy. I will send it to you this weekend. Pinky promise.
Are we talking about the cave?
Yes.
Okay.
She said she would look at what I have written so far, and I said, I'll send it to you today. And then the next day I was like, I will send it to you today. And work has just been so crazy, and I've just been so tired that I keep forgetting about it. But I will do it this weekend.
I was going to say, we're kind of, doing this as a test run. Because you have, all this detail about the cave.
Look, I took notes, guys. Oh, perfect. Perfect.
Oh, hey, Ren.
I wrote right on the cover that he impregnated the cave with his Horcrux and murder victims.
Ew.
Because the
Did you
cave
have
was
to?
a giant womb.
Ew. Wait, what?
There's a lot of sexual imagery in this chapter, okay?
I mean, I guess. I'm not even going to ask. I don't want to know. How about that? I mean, I know I'm going to end up editing a video with all of this information in it, but until then, I will stay blissfully ignorant.
I'm just saying that's where we will be reading from the American edition today. Because I like putting my notes and stuff in the American editions and keeping my house editions nice.
What you got against the American editions?
Nothing. They're just, I can get another one very easily anytime.
How do you know? What if all of a sudden there's a shortage of Harry Potter books?
You stop that.
There's a shortage of everything else. Why not?
You know what? I would bet that is a 2-6 parallel. I would bet you're probably right about that. Oh, that seems better.
Chamber of Secrets and Voldemort's Cave of Secrets. I mean, I guess the Chamber of Secrets was just kind of like a big cave underneath Hogwarts.
There are
and then
some
Voldemort
similarities.
just makes a big cave in a cliff.
Well, he didn't make it. He found it.
Yeah, but, he made it homey.
He made it his own, that's for sure.
Exactly. Did some decorating, The Inferior weren't there originally. You had to cultivate all that.
Yes, it does. Yeah, Harry's inner monster parallels the basilisk. Big time.
Do you have all that in your...
No, because that's not what the theme of the cave is, but if you're talking about book 2 and 6 parallels...
Oh. I didn't know if you were going to, throw some of that in there, just... fun fact.
I don't think so, because it doesn't pertain to the cave specifically, but if I was going to discuss book 2 and 6 parallels, or the connections between Chamber of Secrets and Ginny and Half-Blood Prince and Ginny, then yeah, I'd probably talk about it.
Okay. I'm just gonna let you do your thing.
I would
probably overcomplicate everything.
Yeah, I have to focus on one thing at a time. If I'm going to write something about the cave, it needs to be from a specific point of view with specific ideas in mind.
All about Voldemort's morality or lack of morality.
All about psychological analysis of the cave and how it represents Voldemort's pathology, as well as how the cave in and of itself mirrors like the inner sanctums that a lot of real serial killers fantasize about.
Speaking of morality and everything, I guess someone looked into the source code of Hogwarts Legacy, and there's all this source code that hints towards a morality system and crimes you can commit and everything. I remember as one of our biggest like jeeps with the game was that you could do whatever you want, but there was no real like
Consequence.
consequence.
Oh yeah, one of our viewers was talking about how the end is the same regardless of what path you take.
Yeah, but I guess originally they were going to have
Make it different
this
morality code that
kind of
push
like a fable. Yeah.
pushes you one way or the other. Yeah, why didn't they do that?
Honestly, I think they just ran out of time because there was a lot of things like little nitpicky things that I was like, why wouldn't they have this? It's kind of standard.
Like with the brooms.
Yeah.
But they'd already delayed it and delayed it and delayed it and delayed it. I get it.
To their credit, I think they did the smart choice instead of trying to throw all this stuff in and having it not work well. They were just like, we're just gonna do everything else really well.
Yeah, fair enough.
Just a little thing I saw pop up while we're waiting for people to get in. Fun fact for you. Also, they just updated the game. If you have arachnophobia now, it puts roller skates on the spiders to make them less terrifying,
Lola, what are you doing?
which I think is a great little
Yeah, that's
Easter
fun.
egg.
That's fun. I like that. Melanie says we sound quiet.
Let's see if we can change that. All right. How about now?
Is
Does
that
sound
better?
A little bit better.
From both of us. Does that sound better? Let us know. We'll wait.
It's always hard because when I'm just speaking, like,
She says much better.
okay, awesome. But yeah, that was just a couple little fun facts for you, since they just released the PlayStation 4 and Xbox versions,
Nice.
Xbox One versions. So I'm sure a lot of people are jumping into that now.
I know I have a coworker who is waiting for it to be released on Nintendo.
Didn't they? Already?
No. According to her, no.
How do you think RAB changed sides and tried to destroy Voldemort's Horcrux? How do you even know it was a Horcrux?
So, R.A. Well, do you want to answer that?
No, you can go ahead.
Oh, okay.
I feel I remember talking about this, but I don't really remember everything.
So RAB changed sides once he figured out what Voldemort was making. Once he realized that Voldemort had a Horcrux in combination with what he did to Creature. What he did to Creature is part of how Regulus figured out that Voldemort had Horcruxes. Also, Regulus was the child of a family steeped in pure blood ideology and dark magic. I feel like Horcruxes may not have been something anyone in the family did, but they might be something that a few members of the family knew about. So I think it would have been something that Regulus could have figured out or could have found in a book in the family collection or something.
Or maybe one of them did make a Horcrux. I wouldn't put it past him.
Dan says he's seated in a bench with wine in his BIBLIOBIBULI mug, facing into the wind over a choppy ocean. Needed this.
Man, that sounds amazing.
That does. That sounds so nice. So nice. But that is my answer to that question. And I am ready to read if everyone else is also ready.
I think that, yeah, I mean, I feel like that pretty much covers it. How do you think
No, Voldy did not treat Creature very nice.
How do you think
Not at all.
Regulus found out?
What do you mean?
Like, what do you think the giveaway was?
I think the giveaway was what Creature told him about, like, drinking the potion, that he put the locket there, all the protections around this one object. I think Regulus, like, was kind of like, why all of this protection for just this object? I think that was what did it.
Okay, fair enough.
All right, let's read.
So him treating creature badly made him know exactly what Voldy was doing. Doesn't really make sense to know something that deep.
No, I think it's about the details of what Creature told him. The sealing of the cape, the boat, the potion, hiding the locket. Creature tells him this story, and Creature went through all of this so that Voldemort could hide a locket. I think that would tip him off. All those protections for this one thing,
And
this
then
one
we
object.
just have to assume that Regulus knew what a Horcrux was, or he just went and got this object and. Well, no, he died in there.
He died in the cave. Yeah, he
Yeah,
didn't.
he must have just researched it on his own before, because he would have had access to all these.
And
know,
he knows
dark
that,
magic books.
and he knows that Voldemort, as a follower of Voldemort, he knows that one of Voldemort's quests is for immortality.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think Regulus would have been able to put it together via research, Creature's story, Voldemort's professed ideology about immortality. I think Regulus would have figured it out through all of that. I don't think anyone in the inner circle knew about the Horcruxes. No, I don't think anyone knew. Bellatrix didn't know. Lucius didn't know. They didn't know what they had.
Yeah, I think it was purely a Voldemort thing.
Voldemort would not have told anyone. He would have trusted none of them. He would not have told any of them about the Horcruxes. No way.
That's probably why he took Creature.
Right, Creature
It's
does.
just a house elf. No one's gonna believe the house elf.
Well, he also, I don't think, cared whether Creature lived or died.
Yep. Yeah.
He intended Creature to die there.
Mm-hmm.
Creature, he just didn't realize Creature was going to be able to apparate out, but he assumed Creature was going to die there.
Yeah, that too. Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. Either way, yeah.
Shall we?
So I guess you just have to assume that Regulus had some knowledge on the situation prior.
You also have
And
to.
we also know that he seems like he was just kind of going along with his family because they were his family. Like I feel like his moral compass was pointing him in other directions, and we saw that kind of with Creature.
He wasn't as strong-willed as Sirius.
Yeah, pretty much.
Shall we?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Here we go. Chapter 26. The Cave. Harry could smell salt and hear rushing waves. A light, chilly breeze ruffled his hair as he looked out at moonlit sea and star-strewn sky. He was standing upon a high outcrop of dark rock, water foaming and churning below him. He glanced over his shoulder. A towering cliff stood behind them, a sheer drop, black and faceless. A few large chunks of rock, such as the one upon which Harry and Dumbledore were standing, looked as though they'd been broken away from the cliff face at some point in the past. It was a bleak, harsh view, the sea and the rock unrelieved by any tree or sweep of grass or sand. I wrote, this is dark and foreboding, no signs of life other than the power of the water.
I mean, water is life, though.
It is, but there's no trees, there's no green, it's
it's just desolate.
Dark and desolate. What do you think? Asked Dumbledore. He might have been asking Harry's opinion on whether it was a good site for a picnic. They brought the kids from the orphanage here? Asked Harry, who could not imagine a less cosy spot for a day trip. Not here, precisely, said Dumbledore. There is a village of sorts about halfway along the cliffs behind us. I believe the orphans were taken there for a little sea air and a view of the waves. No, I think it was only ever Tom Riddle and his youthful victims who visited this spot. No muggle could reach this rock unless they were uncommonly good mountaineers, and boats cannot approach the cliffs. The waters around them are too dangerous. I imagine that Riddle climbed down. Magic would have served better than ropes. And he brought 2 small children with him, probably for the pleasure of terrorizing them. I think the journey alone would have done it, don't you?" Harry looked up at the cliff again and felt goosebumps. "But his final destination, and ours, lies a little farther on. Come." I wrote, this is fortress-like. And also, I think it's very interesting that Rowling chooses the pleasure of terrorizing. It's a very specific word choice, already equating joy and pleasure with terror and subjugation.
Kind of like what we talked in the Voldemort Horcrux thing about. He loves to torture, brings him joy.
I just think pleasure of terrorizing was very specific word choice right there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it would have been really creepy if when the Inferi were all coming out at Harry, if there was just like one kid-sized Inferi.
I mean, there are kid-sized Inferi.
Do they mention them in this chapter?
Yeah.
Oh, they do?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that. I don't remember that.
It's not the kids that he took to the cave.
Well,
but there's
he didn't
kids in
like
here.
kill them.
No.
They came back.
Yeah. We'll get there.
Okay.
Dumbledore beckoned Harry to the very edge of the rock, where a series of jagged niches made footholds leading down to boulders that lay half submerged in water and closer to the cliff. It was a treacherous descent, and Dumbledore, hampered slightly by his withered hand, moved slowly. The lower rocks were slippery with seawater. Harry could feel flecks of cold salt spray hitting his face. "Lumos," said Dumbledore, as he reached the boulder closest to the cliff face. 1,000 flecks of golden light sparkled upon the dark surface of the water a few feet below where he crouched. The black wall of rock beside him was illuminated too. I don't know if you guys are ready for this, but here goes. I wrote, submerging themselves into the ocean, Harry being sprayed with salty sea spray.
No. Wait. I think I know where this is going.
This is reminiscent. This is imagery.
No.
Salty sea spray is often a metaphor for semen.
Oh, God.
And it is...
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
No.
Yes, it is. It's in a lot of classic literature, ancient Greek mythology, all that stuff. The sea spray is semen, and this is kind of like an ejaculatory moment.
Harry just got a money shot.
And it applies later. Melanie will back me up on this, I think.
I just didn't need to know that right now.
"You see?" said Dumbledore quietly, holding his wand a little higher. Harry saw a fissure in the cliff into which the dark water was swirling. "You will not object to getting a little wet?" "No," said Harry. "Then take off your invisibility cloak. There is no need for it now. And let us take the plunge." And, with the sudden agility of a much younger man, Dumbledore slid from the boulder, landed in the sea, and began to swim, with a perfect breaststroke, toward the dark slit in the rock face, his lit wand in his teeth. Harry pulled off his cloak, stuffed it into his pocket, and followed. So this follows the specific words dark slit. That is vaginal imagery. So you have the life semen force, and then you have the vaginal cave.
Wait, did you just call the ocean the life semen force?
Yes, I did. And
oh, Dan, I hope you enjoy that imagery while you're getting splashed by sea spray.
This all culminates in the idea that this is really the true birth of Voldemort as who he is. This is where he really found and discovered himself and who he really is and wants to be. It is the birth of Voldemort as opposed to just Tom Riddle.
I mean, I guess.
Yes, like the opening to the bathroom.
Yeah, see, let's just yeah, it's just a
Why are
parallel
you
to the
so
opening
weirded
there.
out by this?
Because
Why are you so
little Harry
uncomfortable?
is going through all this. It's just
Harry is 16. He can handle it.
you know, but
This is classic literature. This is what they do in classic literature. This is metaphor. This
so
is
all
what it
those
is.
dirty jokes I made in English class in high school, when the teacher told me to leave, I was actually just expressing the classics.
God. Why are you This is serious. You're being juvenile about it.
No, Sirius is dead.
Okay. The water was icy. Harry's waterlogged clothes billowed round him and weighed him down. Taking deep breaths that filled his nostrils with the tang of salt and seaweed, he struck out for the shimmering, shrinking light now moving deeper into the cliff. The fissure soon opened into a dark tunnel that Harry could tell would be filled with water at high tide. The slimy walls were barely 3 feet apart and glimmered like wet tar in the passing light of Dumbledore's wand. A little way in, the passageway curved to the left, and Harry saw that it extended far, far into the cliff. He continued to swim in Dumbledore's wake, the tips of his benumbed fingers brushing the rough, wet rock. Imagery, guys, I'm just saying. It's a long, wet tunnel filling with seawater. That's what it is.
I mean, I guess so. There may be a fine line between sexual imagery and lewdness.
This is sexual imagery. You are being lewd.
No.
Yes, yes.
Maybe a little bit.
Then he saw Dumbledore rising out of the water ahead, his silver hair and dark robes gleaming. When Harry reached the spot, he found steps that led into a large cave. He clambered up them, water streaming from his soaking clothes, and emerged, shivering uncontrollably, into the still and freezing air. Dumbledore was standing in the middle of the cave, his wand held high as he turned slowly on the spot, examining the walls and ceiling. "Yes, this is the place," said Dumbledore. "How can you tell?" Harry spoke in a whisper. "It has known magic," said Dumbledore simply. Harry could not tell whether the shivers he was experiencing were due to his spine-deep coldness or to the same awareness of enchantments. He watched as Dumbledore continued to revolve on the spot, evidently concentrating on things Harry could not see. "This is merely the antechamber, the entrance hall," said Dumbledore after a moment or two. "We need to penetrate the inner place. Now it is Lord Voldemort's obstacles that stand in our way, rather than those nature made."
You ruined this chapter for me because as soon as he said we need to penetrate it, I'm just like, oh god, Dumbledore.
I would like to note that the word penetrate or penetration is used at least 6 or 7 times in this chapter. We'll discuss that when we're done. Dumbledore approached the wall of the cave and caressed it with his blackened fingertips, murmuring words in a strange tongue that Harry did not understand. Twice Dumbledore walked right around the cave, touching as much of the rough rock as he could, occasionally pausing, running his fingers backwards and forwards over a particular spot, until finally he stopped, his hand pressed flat against the wall. "Here," he said. "We go on through here. The entrance is concealed." Harry did not ask how Dumbledore knew. He'd never seen a wizard work things out like this, simply by looking and touching. But Harry had long since learned that bangs and smoke were more often the marks of ineptitude than expertise.
Now, what is this? Is this entrance supposed to represent the cervix or something? Like, are we going past the vaginal canal now and entering
All
the
right,
uterus?
Ryan, have get some sleep. Thank you for popping in. Why are you being so uncomfortable about this?
I'm just saying, like, is this now we're going to I'm just thinking of it from a biological standpoint. So we've
It's not about
reached the
biology.
cervix.
It's not about biology.
Now we're going to enter the uterus. Are we going to make it to the ovaries or are we just
It's not about biology.
What?
It's not about biology. It's about symbolism.
Okay, anatomy, symbolism. Anatomy would be the
Oh
better
my
term.
god. Dumbledore stepped back from the cave wall and pointed his wand at the rock. For a moment, an arched outline appeared there, blazing white as though there were a powerful light behind the crack. You've done it, said Harry through chattering teeth. But before the words had left his lips, the outline had gone, leaving the rock as bare and solid as ever. Dumbledore looked round. Harry, I am so sorry, I forgot, he said. He now pointed his wand at Harry, and at once Harry's clothes were as warm and dry as if they'd been hanging in front of a blazing fire. Thank you, said Harry gratefully, but Dumbledore had already turned his attention back to the solid cave wall. He did not try any more magic, but simply stood there staring at it intently, as though something extremely interesting were written on it. Harry stayed quite still. He did not want to break Dumbledore's concentration. Then, after 2 solid minutes, Dumbledore said quietly, Oh, surely not. So crude. What is it, Professor? I rather think, said Dumbledore, putting his uninjured hand inside his robes and drawing out a short silver knife of the kind Harry used to chop potions ingredients, that we are required to make payment to pass. Payment? Said Harry. You've got to give the door something. Yes, said Dumbledore. Blood, if I am not much mistaken. Blood? I said it was crude, said Dumbledore, who sounded disdainful, even disappointed, as though Voldemort had fallen short of the standards Dumbledore expected. The idea, as I am sure you will have gathered, is that your enemy must weaken him, or herself, to enter. Once again, Lord Voldemort fails to grasp that there are much more terrible things than physical injury. Yeah, but still, if you can avoid it, said Harry, who had experienced enough pain not to be keen for more. Sometimes, however, it is unavoidable, said Dumbledore, shaking back the sleeve of his robes and exposing the forearm of his injured hand. Professor, protested Harry, hurrying forward as Dumbledore raised his knife. I'll do it. He did not know what he was going to say. Younger? Fitter? But Dumbledore merely smiled. There was a flash of silver and a spurt of scarlet. The rock face was peppered with dark, glistening drops. You are very kind, Harry, said Dumbledore, now passing the tip of his wand over the deep cut he'd made in his own arm, so that it healed instantly, just as Snape had healed Malfoy's wounds. But your blood is worth more than mine. Ah, that seems to have done the trick, doesn't it? The blazing silver outline of an arch had appeared in the wall once more, and this time it did not fade away. The blood-spattered rock within it simply vanished, leaving an opening into what seemed total darkness. After me, I think, said Dumbledore, and he walked through the archway with Harry on his heels, lighting his own wand hastily as he went. An eerie sight met their eyes. They were standing on the edge of a great black lake, so vast that Harry could not make out the distant banks, in a cavern so high that the ceiling too was out of sight. A misty greenish light shone from far away in what looked like the middle of the lake. It was reflected in the completely still water below. The greenish glow and the light from the 2 wands were the only things that broke the otherwise velvety blackness, though their rays did not penetrate as far as Harry would have expected. The darkness was somehow denser than normal darkness. I wrote...
Note, we have now entered the uterus.
I wrote...
Please watch your step.
The word penetration again. Here we are penetrating Voldemort's inner sanctum, violating his privacy. Penetration is often a word to use when it's maybe not the most pleasant way. It's kind of gives the idea of invasion or lack of consent.
Well, yeah, they just let themselves into Voldemort's cave without his consent right now.
And I said that the cave is a physical manifestation of his inner being. The green light is who Voldemort is. It is literally a piece of his soul, encased in a giant, vast, dark emptiness. Like, it is a literal symbol of Voldemort's inner being.
Just green and dark. Why does green have to be associated with evil? I like green.
"Let us walk," said Dumbledore quietly. "Be very careful not to step into the water. Stay close to me." He set off around the edge of the lake, and Harry followed close behind him. Their footsteps made echoing slapping sounds on the narrow rim of rock that surrounded the water. On and on they walked, but the view did not vary. On one side of them, the rough cavern wall. On the other, the boundless expanse of smooth, glassy blackness, in the very middle of which was that mysterious greenish glow. Harry found the place and the silence oppressive, unnerving. "Professor," he said finally, "do you think the Horcrux is here?" "Oh, yes," said Dumbledore. "Yes, I'm sure it is. The question is, how do we get to it?" We couldn't just try a summoning charm," Harry said, sure it was a stupid suggestion, but he was much keener than he was prepared to admit on getting out of this place as soon as possible. "Certainly we could," said Dumbledore, stopping so suddenly that Harry almost walked into him. "Why don't you do it?" "Me? Okay." Harry had not expected this, but cleared his throat and said loudly, wand aloft, "Accio Horcrux!" With a noise like an explosion, something very large and pale erupted out of the dark water some 20 feet away. Before Harry could see what it was, it had vanished again with a crashing splash that made great deep ripples on the mirrored surface. Harry leapt backward in shock and hit the wall. His heart was still thundering as he turned to Dumbledore. "What was that?" "Something, I think, that is ready to respond should we attempt to seize the Horcrux." Harry looked back at the water. The surface of the lake was once more shining black glass. The ripples had vanished unnaturally fast. Harry's heart, however, was still pounding. "Did you think that would happen, sir?" The black mirror, black shining glass of it is also Voldemort. Smooth, unreadable, like no emotion, no nothing. And when something erupts out of the surface, it's just gone instantaneously.
I saw what you did there. Just, it's gone instantaneously. Rubbing the nose.
Sure.
Just pointing out that, we know he lost his nose. He's very sensitive about it.
I don't think he is that sensitive about it, to be honest.
No one ever says anything about it. I wonder what would happen if one of the Death Eaters said, just came up to him like, so, gotta ask, what happened to your nose?
"I thought something would happen if we made an obvious attempt to get our hands on the Horcrux. That was a very good idea, Harry. Much the simplest way of finding out what we are facing." "But we don't know what that thing was," said Harry, looking at the sinisterly smooth water. "What the things are, you mean?" said Dumbledore. "I doubt very much that there is only one of them. Shall we walk on?" "Professor." "Yes, Harry?" "Do you think we're going to have to go into the lake?" "Into it? Only if we are very unfortunate." "You don't think the Horcrux is at the bottom?" "Oh, no. I think the Horcrux is in the middle." And Dumbledore pointed toward the misty green light in the center of the lake. "So we're going to have to cross the lake to get to it?" "Yes, I think so." Harry did not say anything. His thoughts were of all water monsters, of giant serpents, of demons, kelpies, and sprites. "Aha!" said Dumbledore, and he stopped again. This time Harry really did walk into him. For a moment he toppled on the edge of the dark water, and Dumbledore's uninjured hand closed tightly around his upper arm, pulling him back. "So sorry, Harry. I should have given warning. Stand back against the wall, please. I think I have found the place." Harry had no idea what Dumbledore meant. This patch of dark bank was exactly like every other bit as far as he could tell, but Dumbledore seemed to have detected something special about it. This time he was running his hand, not over the rocky wall, but through the thin air, as though expecting to find and grip something invisible. "Oh!" said Dumbledore happily, seconds later. His hand had closed in mid-air upon something Harry could not see. Dumbledore moved closer to the water. Harry watched nervously as the tips of Dumbledore's buckled shoes found the utmost edge of the rock rim. Keeping his hand clenched in mid-air, Dumbledore raised his wand with the other and tapped his fist with the point. Immediately, a thick coppery green chain appeared out of thin air, extending from the depths of the water into Dumbledore's clenched hand. Dumbledore tapped the chain, which began to slide through his fist like a snake, coiling itself on the ground with a clinking sound that echoed noisily off the rock walls, pulling something from the depths of the black water. Harry gasped as the ghostly prow of a tiny boat broke the surface, glowing as green as the chain, and floated, with barely a ripple, towards the place on the bank where Harry and Dumbledore stood. "How did you know that was there?" Harry asked in astonishment. "Magic always leaves traces," said Dumbledore, as the boat hit the bank with a gentle bump. "Sometimes very distinctive traces. I taught Tom Riddle. I know his style." Is this boat safe?" "Oh, yes, I think so. Voldemort needed to create a means to cross the lake without attracting the wrath of those creatures that he had placed within it, in case he ever wanted to visit or remove his Horcrux." "So the things in the water won't do anything to us if we cross in Voldemort's boat?" "I think we must resign ourselves to the fact that they will, at some point, realize we are not Lord Voldemort. Thus far, however, we have done well. They have allowed us to raise the boat."
Yeah, Dan, slide through his fist like a snake. Some Slytherin imagery there.
Mm.
I'm going with Slytherin imagery.
Yeah, oh, definitely. Also echoes back to, like, the basilisk as well.
And of course this doesn't have an 18+ warning. This is a children's book, Dan. Come on. Nothing bad in this. There's no 18+ imagery happening or anything.
Yeah, never. Voldemort would have been reasonably... "Oh, but why have they let us?" asked Harry, who could not shake off the vision of tentacles rising out of the dark water the moment they were out of sight of the bank. "Voldemort would have been reasonably confident that none but a very great wizard would have been able to find the boat," said Dumbledore. "I think he would have been prepared to risk what was, to his mind, the most unlikely possibility that somebody else would find it, knowing that he had set other obstacles ahead that only he would be able to penetrate. We shall see whether he is right."
I should have made a little penetration graphic.
To count how many times?
How many times?
We're at 3.
Sexual symbolism is very subtle.
It
That's
is
true.
very subtle.
And ironically, I feel like the younger audience probably would catch more of it.
I think you also have to understand the symbolism of the ocean and how it pertains to semen and all that.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I know when I was like, 11 or 12, like, slit, dark cave, wet.
Ew.
That's every kid. Come on. The inferior cooties.
Harry looked down into the boat. It was really very small. "It doesn't look like it was built for 2 people. Will it hold both of us? Will we be too heavy together?" Dumbledore chuckled. "Voldemort will not have cared about the weight, but about the amount of magical power that crossed this lake. I rather think an enchantment will have been placed upon this boat, so that only one wizard at a time would be able to sail in it." "But then—" "I do not think you will count, Harry. You are underage and unqualified. Voldemort would never expect a 16-year-old to reach this place. I think it unlikely that your powers will register compared to mine." These words did nothing to raise Harry's morale. Perhaps Dumbledore knew it, for he added, "Voldemort's mistake, Harry. Voldemort's mistake. Age is foolish and forgetful when it underestimates youth. Now, you first this time, and be careful not to touch the water." Dumbledore stood aside, and Harry climbed carefully into the boat. Dumbledore stepped in too, coiling the chain onto the floor. They were crammed in together. Harry could not comfortably sit, but crouched, his knees jutting over the edge of the boat, which began to move at once. There was no sound other than the silken rustle of the boat's prow cleaving the water. It moved without their help, as though an invisible rope was pulling it onward toward the light in the centre. Soon they could no longer see the walls of the cavern. They might have been at sea, except there were no waves. Harry looked down and saw the reflected gold of his wand light sparkling and glittering on the black water as they passed. The boat was carving deep ripples upon the glassy surface, grooves in the dark mirror. And then Harry saw it, marble white, floating inches below the surface. "Professor!" he said, and his startled voice echoed loudly over the silent water. "Harry? I think I saw a hand in the water. A human hand." "Ah, yes, I am sure you did," said Dumbledore calmly. Harry stared down into the water, looking for the vanished hand, and a sick feeling rose in his throat. "So that thing that jumped out of the water—" But Harry had his answer before Dumbledore could reply. The wand light had slid over a fresh patch of water and showed him, this time, a dead man lying face up, inches beneath the surface, his open eyes misted as though with cobwebs, his hair and his robe swirling around him like smoke. "There are bodies in here," said Harry, and his voice sounded much higher than usual, and most unlike his own. "Yes," said Dumbledore placidly, "but we do not need to worry about them at the moment." "At the moment?" Harry repeated, tearing his gaze from the water to look at Dumbledore. "Not while they are merely drifting peacefully below us," said Dumbledore. "There is nothing to be feared from a body, Harry, and more than there is any more than there is anything to be feared from the darkness. Lord Voldemort, who of course secretly fears both, disagrees. But once again he reveals his own lack of wisdom. It is the unknown we fear when we look upon death and darkness. Nothing more." Harry said nothing. He did not want to argue, but he found the idea that there were bodies floating around them and beneath them horrible, and what was more, he did not believe that they were not dangerous. "But one of them jumped," he said, trying to make his voice and level as calm as Dumbledore's. "When I tried to summon the Horcrux, a body leapt out of the lake." "Yes," said Dumbledore. "I am sure that once we take the Horcrux, we shall find them less peaceable. However, like many creatures that dwell in cold and darkness, they fear light and warmth, which we shall therefore call to our aid should the need arise. Fire, Harry," Dumbledore added with a smile in response to Harry's bewildered expression. "Oh, right," Harry said quickly. He turned his head to look at the greenish glow toward which the boat was still inexorably sailing. He could not pretend now that he was not scared. The great black lake, teeming with the dead. It seemed hours and hours ago that he'd met Professor Trelawney, that he'd given Ron and Hermione Felix Felicis. He suddenly wished that he'd said a better goodbye to them, and he hadn't seen Ginny at all. "Nearly there," said Dumbledore cheerfully. Sure enough, the greenish light seemed to be growing larger at last, and within minutes the boat had come to a halt, bumping gently into something that Harry could not see at first, but when he raised his illuminated wand, he saw that they had reached a small island of smooth rock in the centre of the lake. "Careful not to touch the water," said Dumbledore again as Harry climbed out of the boat. The island was no larger than Dumbledore's office, an expanse of dark flat stone on which stood nothing but the source to that greenish light, which looked much brighter when viewed close to. Harry squinted at it. At first he thought it was a lamp of some kind, but then he saw that the light was coming from a stone basin rather like the Pensieve, which was set on top of a pedestal.
I want to stop you there because there's an interesting discussion happening in the chat right now about Harry not being as powerful as Voldemort, which is true.
In a lot of ways, yeah.
He's definitely not as powerful. Like the reason he beat him was because, well, I guess you could say his mom was more powerful since it was like the love
Well,
protection.
it's Harry's capacity to love and the support of all of those around him. But skill for skill, like no, the Harry is not an accomplished wizard.
Yeah,
He's a
Voldemort
teenager.
was on another level. But I love how Dennis puts it, how his power doesn't compare. Just that phrase just made me picture Voldemort as Vegeta just crushing the scanner. His power is over 9,000. He didn't cross it. Yeah, they didn't cross it when Regulus went, right? Creature just apparated them there.
I'm
The
pretty
little,
sure,
like,
yeah.
yeah. So that's true. Yeah.
The vote is
So,
meant to take a victim. Yeah. Um it's also about what kind of magic Voldemort values, and prodigious magical skill is what Voldemort values. And yeah, Voldemort and Dumbledore are on levels that Harry is not on.
yeah.
His Harry's magical skill set is not what makes Harry extraordinary.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like that's the whole.
Harry
Um,
accidentally became extraordinary.
but I did say here that it's set on top of a pedestal. So this literal piece of soul is sitting on a pedestal, which is very much how Voldemort sees himself. He is up on a pedestal above all else, and you could kind of say that all the Inferi are like everyone else. They are beneath him, and he is higher up, better, exceptional, great.
That's true. One thing I don't get though, like he understood that Dumbledore was on his level. Like we talked about it. Like
He's the
he's the
only
only one
one
he
he
ever
ever
feared.
feared, right?
So it does come back to the reasoning that why would you make it based on like power? Wouldn't you make the traps associated with yourself in some way? Because he did know that was at least one wizard out there who rivaled him and could probably figure it out. But maybe that was just something he overlooked, like he overlooked the house elf magic and the love magic.
I feel like he was so convinced that no one even knew about the cave. No one even knew he was making Horcruxes.
I'm Yeah, but we talk about how like cautious and safe he was.
Mm-hmm.
And then he just kind of was like the one person who knows about it is the same, power level as me. Maybe I should make it a little bit harder for him to get in here. You have to be me and only me.
Think he was that confident
I mean,
that
I'm
if
not saying it's
anyone
like
got.
a loophole or anything, but I'm just saying it's something else that he like overlooked. Because part of the story is the fact that Voldemort overlooks things. He's not as perfect as he says or thinks he is.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. He's too confident in his own abilities and in what he does, and doesn't think anyone's gonna make it. No one's gonna figure it out. I'm too good at this. Even if he is like he fears Dumbledore, but I still think in his brain he's like it's too well hidden. There's no way. No one's ever gonna figure it out. Right. He also assumed no one found the room of hidden things, even though there was literally like thousands of other people's hidden shit in there.
Yeah.
Like Dan makes a good point. Like I'm the only person that found it. Where'd all the other shit come from? So that is how deluded Voldemort is in his own extraordinariness.
This has always been here. This is
Which
fine.
is why it's perfect that his soul is literally sitting up on this pedestal. It's like this very physical imagery of Voldemort is up here, everyone else is down here, and that's how he sees himself and the world. And you also have himself isolated up on this pedestal, surrounded by this island, then surrounded by this huge lake. Like, it's almost like there is a large, huge physical distance between Voldemort and, like, everyone else.
Yeah,
It's like imagery there. And Dumbledore and Harry are penetrating or violating that.
You just love using the P word today, don't you?
It's in the chapter like a bunch of times.
Fair enough.
We've seen it 3 times.
How do you think Regulus died? I've always wondered since he left the note inside. I'm pretty sure he put the note inside prior to going with Creature there. So I think he died in the cave.
He died in the cave.
I think the note was just placed in there like
beforehand.
before.
He died in the cave, so he drinks the potion, takes the locket.
Puts the fake locket in.
Puts the fake locket and the note in.
To get out of here and dies.
Right, and the Inferi pull him into the lake. So Regulus's body is in the lake somewhere.
So yeah, maybe they cremated Regulus at the end of this chapter when Dumbledore does his fire magic, fire bending.
Well, by the time Regulus goes, he is an adult. He's not an underage wizard anymore. So he is technically a single adult wizard. So the boat would have held him and Creature.
Oh, fair enough. I forgot about that. How did you forget about that?
What?
That he traveled by boat.
I don't know. Just
do you think Creature like apparated him into the cave and then they went by boat, or do you think he figured out the whole blood thing and stuff?
Well, Creature would have seen Voldemort do it. Creature would have seen Voldemort do all of it, so yeah. Creature would have led him to the boat, to everything else.
Yeah, I guess so. It's easy when you got a guide.
Well, no, because Voldemort sets the power measure. He would not... Creature's power wouldn't have even registered. Yeah. So it would have just been Regulus, and Regulus's power would have registered for sure. But that's why they were able to go.
Yeah. But still, you would think you'd put like some... like, you have to be at least this powerful. Or maybe Voldemort just was that weak overall. And everything we know about him is just hype.
But Dumbledore's argument is that Harry's power wouldn't really register. That only Dumbledore's would register, Harry's wouldn't. That's why both of them can get in the boat. Therefore, Regulus is a lot less powerful. Therefore, him and Creature could very easily travel in the boat. Does that make sense? They'd be like a lot lighter, I guess.
Okay.
Dumbledore is like very heavy. If like that's how I equate that.
I always wonder if Creature got him out, or if Voldemort killed him, or if he died in the cave. I'm pretty sure he died in the cave.
Well, yeah, no, that's what I think they're responding to what I said.
Oh, okay.
Is that the Inferi dragged him under? Dumbledore approached the basin and Harry followed. Side by side, they looked down into it. The basin was full of an emerald liquid emitting that phosphorescent glow. "What is it?" asked Harry quietly. "I am not sure," said Dumbledore. "Something more worrisome than blood and bodies, however." Dumbledore pushed back the sleeve of his robe over his blackened hand and stretched out the tips of his burned fingers toward the surface of the potion. "Sir, no, don't touch!" "I cannot touch," said Dumbledore, smiling faintly. "See? I cannot approach any nearer than this. You try." Staring, Harry put his hand into the basin and attempted to touch the potion. He met an invisible barrier that prevented him from coming within an inch of it. No matter how hard he pushed, his fingers encountered nothing but what seemed to be solid and inflexible air. "Out of the way, please, Harry," said Dumbledore. He raised his wand and made complicated movements over the surface of the potion, murmuring soundlessly. Nothing happened, except perhaps that the potion glowed a little brighter. Harry remained silent while Dumbledore worked, but after a while Dumbledore withdrew his wand, and Harry felt it was safe to talk again. "You think the Horcrux is in there, sir?" "Oh, yes." Dumbledore peered more closely into the basin. Harry saw his face reflected, upside down, in the smooth surface of the green potion. "But how to reach it? This potion cannot be penetrated by hand." Number 4. There it is again.
Penetration number 4. And real quick, unless you're saying the boat just measures the highest power as 1, and like Dumbledore's power is so much higher than Harry, Regulus or creature, similar power difference, so the boat thinks it's one person. Yeah, that's what you're saying, right? There's just such a huge power difference between them.
Yeah. But the boat wants to, one wizard and one victim, but it doesn't necessarily need to, because Voldemort can cross any time by himself if he just wants to, like, check on his Horcrux, which is what he does in Hallows.
Or maybe he can only check on it when he brings a victim, and hence
No, because he goes by
Lake
himself.
of Fury.
He goes by himself.
Oh yeah, he does in Hallows, doesn't
He
he?
goes to check on it by himself in Hallows because he's
Or
like,
maybe
oh
he just
crap,
maybe,
where happened all my Horcruxes?
Maybe he just, grabbed a muggle on the way.
No, because Harry, like, sees it. Like, he...
I know, that was just a joke. Just kidding. Yeah,
Well-
they go by the boat too.
It doesn't have to be 2. It can be 1. It can be registered as 1.
But I don't think it can be like 2 powerful wizards. Like if Dumbledore and Voldemort decided to go on a boat ride, I don't think it would work.
Right. Yeah. That's that. Yeah. Exactly. Voldemort and McGonagall.
Yeah, so you can have 1 powerful wizard and 1 wizard, but you can't have 2 powerful ones.
Yeah.
Or just 1 powerful wizard.
Well, yeah, I'm sure Voldemort also has back doors to get in there. Yeah. This potion cannot be penetrated by hand, vanished, parted, scooped up, or siphoned away, nor can it be transfigured, charmed, or otherwise made to change its nature. Almost absent-mindedly, Dumbledore raised his wand again, twirled it once in the mid-air, and then caught the crystal goblet that he had conjured out of nowhere. I can only conclude that this potion is supposed to be drunk. What? Said Harry. No! Yes, I think so. Only by drinking it can I empty the basin and see what lies in its depths. But what if it kills you? Oh, I doubt that it would work like that, said Dumbledore easily. Lord Voldemort would not want to kill the person who reached this island. Harry couldn't believe it. Was this more of Dumbledore's insane determination to see good in everyone? Sir, said Harry, trying to keep his voice reasonable. Sir, this is Voldemort. I'm sorry, Harry. I should have said he would not want to immediately kill the person who reached the island. Dumbledore corrected himself. He would want to keep them alive long enough to find out how they managed to penetrate so far through his defences, and most importantly of all, why they were so intent upon emptying the basin. Do not forget that Lord Voldemort believes that he alone knows about his Horcruxes.
But God forbid he installs some alarm system so he knows that someone broke in.
That is penetration number 5.
I'm sorry, so he knows that someone penetrated his inner sanctum.
Yes.
Seems like another overlooked detail. I'm going to make sure that person is tortured so I can keep them here and find out how they penetrate penetrated my sanctum. But I'm going to have no way of knowing that they're here, and the inferior probably just going to drag them down to the lake, so I can't ask them. Voldemort. What? Someone needs to give this guy evil villain lessons.
I think I think Voldemort.
Well, I guess he's doing great as a villain though, because every villain always has to have that loophole that the heroes find.
I think Voldemort would assume that if someone tried to take the Horcrux or destroy it, like he would feel it, he would know. But he's broken up his soul so many times that he doesn't. He doesn't.
Okay, fair enough.
Harry made to speak again, but this time Dumbledore raised his hand for silence, frowning slightly at the emerald liquid, evidently thinking hard. Undoubtedly, he said finally. This potion must act in a way that will prevent me taking the Horcrux. It might paralyze me, cause me to forget why I am here, create so much pain I am distracted, or render me incapable in some other way. This being the case, Harry, it will be your job to make sure that I keep drinking, even if you have to tip the potion into my protesting mouth. You understand? Their eyes met over the basin, each pale face lit with that strange green light. Harry did not speak. Was this why he had been invited along? So that he could force-feed Dumbledore a potion that might cause him unendurable pain? You remember, said Dumbledore, the condition on which I brought you with me. Harry hesitated, looking into the blue eyes that had turned green in the reflected light of the basin. But what if you... You swore, did you not, to follow any command I gave you? Yes, but I warned you, did I not, that there might be danger? Yes, said Harry, but... Well then, said Dumbledore, shaking back his sleeves once more and raising the empty goblet. You have my orders. Why can't I drink the potion instead? Asked Harry desperately. Because I am much older, much cleverer, and much less valuable, said Dumbledore. Once and for all, Harry, do I have your word that you will do all in your power to make me keep drinking? Do I have it? But your word, Harry. All right, but... Before Harry could make any further protest, Dumbledore lowered the crystal goblet into the potion. For a split second, Harry hoped that he would not be able to touch the potion with the goblet, but the crystal sank into the surface as nothing else had. When the glass was full to the brim, Dumbledore lifted it to his mouth. Your good health, Harry. And he drained the goblet. Harry watched, terrified, his hands gripping the rim of the basin so hard that his fingertips were numb. Professor? He said anxiously, as Dumbledore lowered the empty glass. How do you feel? Dumbledore shook his head, his eyes closed. Harry wondered whether he was in pain. Dumbledore plunged the glass blindly back into the basin, refilled it, and drank once more. In silence, Dumbledore drank 3 goblets full of the potion. Then halfway through the 4th goblet, he staggered and fell forward against the basin. His eyes were still closed, his breathing heavy. Professor Dumbledore, said Harry, his voice strained. Can you hear me? Dumbledore did not answer. His face was twitching as though he were deeply asleep, but dreaming a horrible dream. His grip on the goblet... That's Mona. All right, I have to take a break and take this phone call real quick, so why don't you guys chat for a minute?
All right. Get into the good stuff, and we got to take a little break. Did it make sense saying attract one wizard, but when one passes the other so much it could barely register Harry to make a difference on the boat? But yeah, pretty much. I don't think Voldemort would have even considered like house elf magic in the like weighing process. And then Harry is only in his what, fifth year in this book, right? Fifth year. So I mean, he is just barely registering, if registering at all. You know, he's not that powerful of a wizard. And Regulus would have been like what, 20 or something like that. I mean, he would have at least been an adult wizard. Sixth year. Thank you, Melanie. So Regulus would have registered. Creature wouldn't have. Dumbledore registers, but Harry doesn't register. So in each case, it only registers one wizard. I don't think it has to scale up to Voldemort. It's just it has to break a baseline. Yeah, I think he definitely put power more related to wizards and witches. That's why Creature could apparate out of there. Just a silly assumption of Dumbledore to think the boat recognizes power. It's just Harry's odd question and Dumbledore throwing. I mean, that definitely could be it. I do love that it says Dumbledore said calmly in this chapter. Anytime it says that, I just picture Dumbledore like screaming at Harry. So, well, how's the video? Just popped up with an error saying it's not receiving enough. So I'm just checking something. All right. And Harry asked why he couldn't drink it. Think he could. Yeah, exactly, Dennis. I think Harry just wouldn't have the mental fortitude to finish drinking it. Not to mention, it's just torturous. Like, Dumbledore doesn't want to put Harry through that. I think it's a little bit of both of those things. Because, yeah, the video went buffering. What the heck? The phone call taking up that much bandwidth? What the heck? Just one of those points where JK doesn't quite think enough through her magic system. Yeah, she does. There's definitely a couple points throughout the story where it kind of feels like she, I don't want to say didn't think things through, but maybe wasn't sure how something should be and then kind of made something up to kind of explain it later. Like, I think she talks about that with the Thestrals. Like, she originally wanted to introduce them in the book. What was it? Is it Half Blood Prince or Order of the Phoenix when they first get introduced? I think it's Order of the Phoenix. Uh, yeah, because that's right after Goblet. And the reason why she said that it had to like sink into Harry was because she didn't want to just like throw in the Thestral thing at the end of Goblet without explaining them. So it was kind of like a last minute thing where she just kind of explained it by, oh, he couldn't see them because it needs time to sink in. Yeah, we're only reading The Cave today. Well, hopefully we can finish it. Looks like dropped quite a few frames. So, yeah, sorry about that, guys. And it started like as soon as the phone call started, so I don't know if that I don't know why that would have an issue be causing an issue, but you know. That and just some like not errors, but little things where the magic is kind of haphazardly explained. I never said there were errors. I said haphazardly explained.
Shall we?
Yes, we can. Well, let's see if this is working again. Like as soon as you
No.
took that phone call, like it
Everything
started
got.
like dropping frames. Yeah, I think it was coincidence. Stream stopped. Oh, what the heck?
Oh, oh no. Like we're really stuck.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I'm not on the phone anymore.
Yeah, I know.
You can do it.
How's she doing?
She had McDonald's for dinner, and Elena is over.
Oh, okay.
I feel like can they hear us? Are we? There are direct errors in the books. The thestrals are a massive problem. I'm not taking the bait. I'm not doing it.
Well, I mean, you can't because apparently the stream is just.
Died.
I know it is because we're sending data. Yeah, it's not sending anything. It's drop frame after drop frame. Wait, it's green now.
Oh, Oh, maybe we're coming back. Yes, no, maybe.
Let me reload this page. Next streaming software.
They can see.
Oh, there. Okay.
Okay.
Jesus.
Did you see me doing this just before?
I don't know. Jesus. That was like, I don't even know. We were
What
like,
a wait.
yeah,
Oh my gosh. All right.
because it says we were sending data, but YouTube wasn't receiving anything. I don't know. Our voices sound like 40,000 miles away.
Hopefully it's a
Oh.
little bit better. I'm going to raise that up. Well, I was sitting back far, so hopefully it's better now.
Hopefully now we're only like 10,000 miles away.
I've got to find my spot now. Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay.
So yeah, thank you for sticking around.
Yes, everyone, thank you for hanging in there. All right, here we go. Dumbledore did not answer. His face was twitching as though he was deeply asleep, but dreaming a horrible dream. His grip on the goblet was slackening. The potion was about to spill from it. Harry reached forward and grasped the crystal cup, holding it steady. "Professor, can you hear me?" he repeated loudly, his voice echoing around the cavern. Dumbledore panted and then spoke in a voice Harry did not recognize, for he had never heard Dumbledore frightened like this. "I don't want... Don't make me..." Harry stared into the whitened face he knew so well, at that crooked nose and half-moon spectacles, and did not know what to do. "Don't like... want to stop," moaned Dumbledore. You can't stop, Professor," said Harry. "You've got to keep drinking, remember? You told me you had to keep drinking. Here." Hating himself, repulsed by what he was doing, Harry forced the goblet back down Dumbledore's mouth and tipped it, so that Dumbledore drank the remainder of the potion inside. "No!" he groaned as Harry lowered the goblet back into the basin and refilled it for him. "I don't want to. I don't want to. Let me go." "It's all right, Professor," said Harry, his hand shaking. "It's all right. I'm here." "Make it stop. Make it stop," moaned Dumbledore. Yes, this'll make it stop," lied Harry. He tipped the contents of the goblet into Dumbledore's open mouth. Dumbledore screamed. The noise echoed all around the vast chamber, across the dead black water. No, I can't, don't make me. I don't want to." "It's all right, Professor, it's all right," said Harry loudly, his hands shaking so badly he could hardly scoop up the 6th goblet full of potion. The basin was now half empty. "Nothing's happening to you. You're safe. It isn't real. I swear it isn't real. Take this, now. Take this." And obediently Dumbledore drank, as though it were an antidote Harry offered him, but upon draining the goblet, he sank to his knees, shaking uncontrollably. "It's all my fault. All my fault," he sobbed. "Please make it stop. I know I did wrong. Oh, please make it stop, and I'll never again." "This'll make it stop, Professor," Harry said, his voice cracking as he tipped the 7th glass of potion into Dumbledore's mouth. Dumbledore began to cower as though invisible torturers surrounded him. His flailing hand almost knocked the refilled goblet from Harry's trembling hands as he moaned. "Don't hurt them. Don't hurt them, please. Please, it's my fault. Hurt me instead." "Here, drink this. Drink this, you'll be all right," Harry said desperately, and once again Dumbledore obeyed him, opening his mouth even as he kept his eyes tight shut and shook from head to foot. And now he fell forward, screaming again, hammering his fists upon the ground, while Harry filled the 9th goblet. "Please, please, please, no, not that, not that. I'll do anything. Just drink, Professor. Just drink. Dumbledore drank like a child dying of thirst, but when he finished, he yelled again, as though his insides were on fire. No more! Please! No more! Harry scooped up a 10th goblet full of potion and felt the crystal scrape the bottom of the basin. We're nearly there, Professor. Drink this. Drink it. He supported Dumbledore's shoulders, and again Dumbledore drained the glass. When Harry was on his... Are you kidding me?
Technology. Oh, we're back? All right. Perfect time for me to be mad at technology. I don't know why we're very far again. But to answer your question, yeah, we read through it one time already. Well, she read it to me. So this is my second reread. This is like, what, your 10th?
This is your second read through. This is like... I mean, I've read the other books different numbers of times. Like, I've read Azkaban at least 14 times.
Jeez.
And
it's not even your favorite.
I know. I've read Hallows at least 10 times.
Yeah, but how many times have you read this one?
Half-Blood Prince I've read probably like 7 or 8 times.
Amateur.
Yeah. He supported Dumbledore's shoulders, and again Dumbledore drained the glass. And then Harry was on his feet once more, refilling the goblet as Dumbledore began to scream in more anguish than ever. I want to die! I want to die! Make it stop! Make it stop! I want to die! Drink this, Professor! Drink this! Dumbledore drank, and no sooner had he finished than he yelled, Kill me! This one will, gasped Harry. Just drink this. It'll be over. All over. Dumbledore gulped at the goblet, drained every last drop, and then, with a great rattling gasp, rolled over onto his face. No! Shouted Harry, who'd stood to refill the goblet again. Instead, he dropped the cup into the basin, flung himself down beside Dumbledore, and heaved him onto his back. Dumbledore's glasses were askew, his mouth agape, his eyes closed. No, said Harry, shaking Dumbledore. No, you're not dead. You said it wasn't poison. Wake up! Wake up! Renovate! He cried, his wand pointing at Dumbledore's chest. There was a flash of red light, but nothing happened. Renovate! Sir! Please! Dumbledore's eyelids flickered. Harry's heart leapt. Sir, are you... Water, croaked Dumbledore. Water, panted Harry. Yes! He leapt to his feet and seized the goblet he had dropped in the basin. He barely registered the golden locket lying curled beneath it. Aguamenti! He shouted, jabbing the goblet with his wand. The goblet filled with clear water. Harry dropped to his knees beside Dumbledore, raised his head and brought the glass to his lips. But it was empty. Dumbledore groaned and began to pant. But I had some. Wait. Aguamenti, said Harry again, pointing his wand at the goblet. Once more, for a second, clear water gleamed within it, but as he approached Dumbledore's mouth, the water vanished again. Sir, I'm trying, Harry said desperately, but he did not think that Dumbledore could hear him. He'd rolled onto his side and was drawing great rattling breaths that sounded agonizing. Aguamenti! 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 The goblet filled and emptied once more, and now Dumbledore's breathing was fading. His brain whirling in panic, Harry knew instinctively the only way left to get water, because Voldemort had planned it so. He flung himself over the edge of the rock and plunged the goblet into the lake, bringing it up full to the brim of icy water that did not vanish. Sir, here! Harry yelled, and lunging forward, he tipped the water clumsily over Dumbledore's face. It was the best he could do, for the icy feeling on his arm not holding the cup was not the lingering chill of the water. A slimy white hand had gripped his wrist, and the creature to whom it belonged was pulling him slowly backward across the rock. The surface of the lake was no longer mirror smooth. It was churning, and everywhere Harry looked, white hands and heads were emerging from the dark water. Men and women and children, with sunken, sightless eyes, were moving toward the rock, an army of the dead rising from the black water. "Petrificus totalis!" yelled Harry, struggling to cling to the smooth-soaked surface of the island as he pointed his wand at the Inferius that had his arm. It released him, falling backward into the water with a splash. He scrambled to his feet, but many more Inferi were already climbing onto the rock, their bony hands clawing at its slippery surface, their blank frosted eyes upon him, trailing waterlogged rags, sunken faces leering. "Petrificus totalis!" Harry bellowed again, backing away as he swiped his wand through the air. 6 or 7 of them crumpled, but more were coming toward him. "Impedimenta! Incarcerus!" A few of them stumbled, 1 or 2 of them bound in ropes, but those climbing onto the rock behind them merely stepped over or on the fallen bodies. Still slashing at the air with his wand, Harry yelled, "Sectum Sempra! Sectum Sempra!" But though gashes appeared in their sodden rags and their icy skin, they had no blood to spill. They walked on, unfeeling in their shrunken hands outstretched toward him, and as he backed away still farther, he felt arms enclose him from behind, thin, fleshless arms, cold as death, and his feet left the ground as they lifted him and began to carry him, slowly and surely, back to the water, and he knew that there would be no release, that he would be drowned, and become one more dead guardian of a fragment of Voldemort's shattered soul. But then, through the darkness, fire erupted, crimson and gold, a ring of fire that surrounded the rock so that the Inferi holding Harry so tightly stumbled and faltered. They did not dare pass through the flames to get to the water. They dropped Harry. He hit the ground, slipped on the rock and fell, grazing his arms, but scrambled back up, raising his wand and staring around. Dumbledore was on his feet again, pale as any of the surrounding Inferi, but taller than any too, the fire dancing in his eyes. His wand was raised like a torch, and from its tip emanated the flames, like a vast lasso, encircling them all with warmth. The Inferi bumped into each other, attempting blindly to escape the fire in which they were enclosed. Dumbledore scooped the locket from the bottom of the stone basin and stowed it in his robes. Wordlessly he gestured to Harry to come to his side. Distracted by the flames, the Inferi seemed unaware that their quarry was leaving as Dumbledore led Harry back to the boat, the ring of fire moving with them, around them, the bewildered Inferi accompanying them to the water's edge, where they slipped gratefully back into their dark waters. Harry, who was shaking all over, thought for a moment that Dumbledore might not be able to climb into the boat. He staggered a little as he attempted it. All his efforts seemed to be going into maintaining the ring of protective flame around them. Harry seized him and helped him back to his seat. Once they were both safely jammed inside again, the boat began to move back across the black water, away from the rock. It was still encircled by that ring of fire, and it seemed that the Inferi swarming below did not dare resurface. "Sir," panted Harry. "Sir, I forgot about fire. They were coming at me, and I panicked." "Quite understandable," murmured Dumbledore. Harry was alarmed to hear how faint his voice was. They reached the bank with a little bump, and Harry leapt out, then turned quickly to help Dumbledore. The moment that Dumbledore reached the bank, he let his wand hand fall. The ring of fire vanished, but the Inferi did not emerge again from the water. The little boat sank back into the water once more. Clanking and tinkling, its chain slithered back into the lake too. Dumbledore gave a great sigh and leaned against the cavern wall. "I am weak," he said. "Don't worry, sir," said Harry at once, anxious about Dumbledore's extreme pallor and by his air of exhaustion. "Don't worry, I'll get us back. Lean on me, sir." and pulling Dumbledore's uninjured arm round his shoulders, Harry guided his headmaster back round the lake, bearing most of his weight. This protection was, after all, well designed, said Dumbledore faintly. One alone could not have done it. You did well. Very well, Harry. Don't talk now, Harry said, fearing how slurred Dumbledore's voice had become, how much his feet dragged. Save your energy, sir. We'll soon be out of here. The archway will have sealed again. My knife. There's no need. I got cut on the rock, said Harry firmly. Just tell me where. Here. Harry wiped his grazed forearm upon the stone. Having received its tribute of blood, the archway reopened instantly. They crossed the outer cave, and Harry helped Dumbledore back into the icy sea water that filled the crevice in the cliff. It's going to be all right, sir, Harry said over and over again, more worried by Dumbledore's silence than he had been by his weakened voice. We're nearly there. I can apparate us both back. Don't worry. I am not worried, Harry, said Dumbledore, his voice a little stronger despite the freezing water. I am with you.
Oh, that ending scene always gets you in the feels.
It does.
And thank you, Melanie, because that is exactly the song that popped into my head, too.
The Ring of Fire is also what they call the moment when you're about to give birth and start pushing. It's called the Ring of Fire.
Oh, I thought it's what happens the day after you eat Taco Bell.
And then my last note here was the potion actually mimics Voldemort's in-person torture of others, penetrating their minds. Here, although we don't find out until 7, Dumbledore is having memories of what happened with Grindelwald and Ariana, and that is being invaded and penetrated by this potion. The dialogue reflects what would have happened if Voldemort had been there to personally use legilimency and Crucio on someone. This is like Voldemort's flavor of what he likes to do when he tortures people. He invades their mind and causes them physical pain. And then Harry's agony over forcing this on Dumbledore is a direct polar opposite to what Voldemort would be feeling if he were in this position. Voldemort would be very excited and be getting off on this, and Harry is just so horrified and saddened by it.
Yes. Yes, he was.
Oh, yeah, it is. It is.
Wait, what is?
The Ring of Fire, the volcanic islands.
Oh, yeah.
I know what she's talking about. So those are all the notes I have so far about the cave. And then, yeah, that he...
Did you read his comment?
Which one? We know why Dumbledore...
Could have used Hermione's menstruation.
He only does that in the movie. He doesn't do that in the book.
Well, Dumbledore's creepy in the movies, I guess.
That bit of dialogue was really out of place, in my opinion.
And now it feels even more out of place when you think of it that way.
Just saying, that's a movieism. It's not.
I will say, one thing the movies did do good is when Dumbledore does the Ring of Fire and everything in the cave, it looks pretty badass.
So, Jeffrey Dahmer and Ted Bundy both did like these drawings or discussed these at length with different interviewers. Jeffrey Dahmer planned like this whole room that he would have where it would be like his workspace, and he would have all the skulls of his victims on these shelves, and there would be candles and altars, and like he like mapped out this whole like room, which would be like his murder and trophy room. And Ted Bundy had the same thing, where he fantasized about having this room where he could keep his victims' bodies and mementos, and he would be free to kind of do whatever it is that he wanted to do and relive all of his crimes. But in their minds, it's not just a room; like it's a tribute to all of the things that they've done, and all their trophies are like hung on the wall, like you would with a buck that you shot or whatever. You know, it's like, um, it's a very simple explanation, um, because Jeffrey Dahmer has like he wrote it out and drew it out and took notes about what this is and what that is, um, and where things would go, and the cave is kind of that for Voldemort. You have all these bodies in here. Certainly, a lot of them were murder victims. The cave is where he started his nastiness, real nastiness, with the two children. So the two children, whatever he did to them, crystallized in his youth. That the cave is like, I think the cave is the place where he made
Discovered his life's passion.
and discovered that pleasure of
Murder.
um,
Torture. Whatever.
subjugating
Torture
and
mode.
terrorizing. He got intense pleasure from it. And so the cave has stuck with him his whole life. So I think these early murders, whatever early murders he was committing, he was bringing the bodies and
Just
putting them
dumping them.
and putting them
Dump
in
site.
there. It could be his dump site. And the
Or
cave.
maybe it's just, spelunkers. Maybe if a muggle, walks up against it, opens up like a Venus flytrap, then they go in to look and the archway just closes.
And the whole secrecy of it is kind of it alludes to serial killer dump sites, their fantasies about their ultimate inner,
Their murder rooms.
yeah. So that's a simplification, but that's kind of how I see it. It's Voldemort's secret murder place. And then he elevated
It's
it.
his man cave.
He elevated it by placing a Horcrux there. But I think originally it was a secret dump site, secret place where he could do his yucky things that he liked to do.
Kill people. He liked to
Torture
kill people.
torture them,
Yeah, that too.
terrorize them, subjugate them. I think it's very interesting that the potion does exactly what Voldemort likes to do in real life. And I feel like Voldemort has probably done that in this cave multiple times.
Yeah. The cave, I mean, maybe because it is the dump site is why it's so protected.
Yay! I'm glad you think I have good material. This is awesome.
But why do you think it was that he protected this Horcrux so much? And the other ones, I mean, they were hidden, but not to the degree that the locket was hidden.
So the locket is Slytherin's. That's very much a part of his identity and why he feels like he's special.
But the ring was too.
Right. But not in the same way.
I guess the ring would probably remind him of his mother, who he resents for being so weak.
And the town and the father, etc. But Slytherin's locket, it's Slytherin's thing. He's the heir. It's got that whole like thing. And Melanie makes a good point. It would lie in the cave as womb. It's his mother. It's his mother's possession.
Yeah, okay. I guess.
I also think that the locket is the. I mean, you have the diary, but I think the locket is the most intensely personal for him, just as the cave in and of itself is the most personal place for him. Gringotts, on the other side, is one of the most prestigious wizard establishments.
Yeah.
So his affinity for the founders' things would also make him decide that I've got to put one at Horcruxes, at Gringotts as well, at Horcruxes. Horcruxes, we sell souls and objects. So he would.
No one made that shop. Horcruxes. Want to live forever? Come on down. Split your soul at half the price.
I think similar to Hogwarts, right? They're all places of significance to him, but the cave has a lot of subtle sexual imagery, birth imagery, impregnating imagery. It would make sense that it would be the place where the mom's object would be.
And I guess going back to the Slytherin thing, you know, Salazar had his Chamber of Secrets, this cave under Hogwarts, and, you know, now he has his own cave.
With Slytherin's object in it. Yeah. The locket Horcrux did fight the hardest to get killed. That's true. Yeah, unless you count the diary. Yeah. The most identity thing literally has Cadmus Peverils, and though he probably didn't know. So. He didn't know about the Peverils. He didn't know about the Hallows at all. So, like, he didn't know about the Hallows in as far as like the set of the Hallows. He knew about the wand, but he didn't know about the ring. He didn't know about the cloak. He didn't know any of that stuff. He didn't even know who the Peverils were. The ring.
Did he not know about that stuff? Or did he just not care? Was he just like, I don't care about being invisible? Why would I need to be invisible?
Well, he doesn't care about children's stories.
Why would I care about seeing my dead
Well, he doesn't care about
parents?
children's stories. He hears that there is. He gets Ollivander to tell him that there is such a wand as the Death Stick and whatever, and that's it. That's all he cares about. He doesn't care about the myth and the legend of any of the other things. And there's no reason why Voldemort would ever want to resurrect the dead. He hates the dead.
He's got us in fury. He's good on that. Skip
the ring, I don't think would. I mean, the ring has its own significance, but I don't think it has the same level of significance as the locket.
I think the ring reminds him too much of his parents. It doesn't have the same Slytherin significance.
It doesn't have the significance of
locket,
Slytherin.
I think he thinks of more as Slytherins than, you know, his mother's.
Yeah. It's definitely in his mind more of this was Salazar Slytherin's. Whereas the ring also reminds him of the poverty and destitute, ignorant nature of the Gaunts, of where he comes from. I think the locket was, I'm going to put it someplace extremely super special because it's Slytherins and I'm Slytherin and yada, yada, yada. I think the locket was more significant to Voldemort personally. The ring is important, but I think the locket was just
on another level.
on another level.
This is Salazar Slytherin's.
It's Slytherin's
He
locket.
touched it with his own hands.
Yeah. I mean, the ring was a family heirloom, certainly, but the locket, I think, had it. Voldemort's got a lot of hang-ups about his mom.
Yeah, he definitely had mommy issues. That's for sure. And daddy issues.
He finds out that it belonged to Slytherin.
And
he finds out that Burke sold it, got it from her for like pennies, and it's Slytherin's object. It's very significant. I think that's why he put all the layers of protection that he did on it, why it's in such a personal place versus Hogwarts, Gringotts, the Malfoys, very established, prestigious
the
places.
Morphin's house.
The ruins of the Gaunt house. Yeah.
And yeah, the ring did definitely gave Voldemort the largest help.
Well, he did put a curse on it for a reason.
Yeah.
Mm.
Dumbledore didn't catch that trace, did he?
Dumbledore did not listen to his own better judgment at that.
Or maybe that's when he learned.
Dumbledore tells Harry, like, during King's Cross chapter, like, I messed up with that one big time. I let my own weaknesses and flaws get the better of me.
I just picture Dumbledore pulling a Hagrid, putting the ring on, just shouldn't have done that. Should not have done that.
Actually, I was kind of thinking of Uncle Roger.
Uncle Roger?
Yeah. Harry, I fucked up. I was so weak, Harry.
Oh God, that'd be great. Have Uncle Roger do a spoof of Harry Potter.
Oh my God. But that's what I've got at
like
the moment.
The Harry spotter.
So the cave, I've got all this subtle sex imagery combined with
subtle, not so subtle.
The violent, sadistic nature of Voldemort at play, and also a physical representation of Voldemort's own lack of humanity and isolation from other humans. Rowling said it was a way for plot to continue because, according to her, with Dumbledore alive, Voldemort couldn't take over Hogwarts or Ministry and the plot would be stuck.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Well, that, and this is a traditional hero's journey story, so Rowling has to follow the rules, and in order to follow the rules, the mentor must die.
Rules smools.
I also...
Rules are meant to be broken.
Yes, removal of the Guardian. What a great way to put it. I don't know why that's unfortunate, though. That Rowling said you had to keep the plot going. Yeah, it's part of the rules of the hero's journey that he would have to die. I don't know why that's unfortunate.
Moral of the story, never mentor anyone.
Oh, got you. Unfortunate for Dumbledore. Well, yeah. A bit of a bummer. Unfortunate for Snape in the long run, too, because it didn't really work out, did it?
Well, no, but...
I mean, it worked out, but not the way that they
not
planned
for
it.
Snape. For everyone else, it worked out.
Yeah, not for Snape. God, what a way to go. Ugh. Poor Snape.
There are things worse than death, as Dumbledore says.
Never mentor anyone. Melanie's laughing. Yeah. So in the presentation discussion, I thought I would bring up the sexual imagery, but also bring up that Voldemort understands sexual desire and discusses it, but doesn't have any.
Or all of this is just coincidence, and you have a very dirty mind.
And Voldemort's lack of sexual desire actually says a lot about his pathology and the fact that his turn on is violence and terrorizing and subjugation, not anything romantic at all. And that's part of how I would relate him to other serial murderers. We froze and it's buffering again.
Son of a bitch. Oh, that's weird because it's not even showing that we're dropping frames now. I don't. Well, at least we're nearing the end, though. We kind of got out everything that we wanted to talk about. Oh, it is?
Um,
All right, Dan says it's here for him, so I was going to say, we haven't dropped any more frames, so
I'm not
it's
sure
going
how
to.
I would bring that into a discussion about the cave.
Wait, what?
Um,
Sorry, I lost.
Voldemort's lack of normal sexual desire, being a telltale sign that he is kind of like a serial murderer in his taste for violence and subjugation is what gets him going in the morning.
Well, I mean, so far you've basically described everything about this as some form of sexual acts. And one of the things that goes along with that is pleasure, and we see how he derives pleasure because of what happens to Dumbledore. And you've already connected like the whole potion with his means of his preferred means of dealing with his victims.
That's true. It came back and then it froze again. Oh well, we were pretty much done anyway. Um,
Yeah, now we're dropping frames. Okay.
um, I believe Voldemort had sexual pleasure. It was just from violence. Nothing remotely actually sexual.
Yeah, we kind of went into it a little bit more.
When we talked about Horcruxes.
Yeah. We're just dropping frames right now. Hold on.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway. Ugh. I know. I gotta eat. I gotta eat. But if we're not picking anything up, we might as well probably just stop. Yeah.
Yeah, I figured we just. I was just gonna wait because I was hoping that it was gonna like fix itself in a little bit, but I don't know what the issue is.
Do you want to just type a message to them then, or I can, and just say we're having issues. We cannot fix.
Oh wait, yeah, I think it's back.
Oh, is it back now?
Well, we stopped dropping frames, so
Oh,
hopefully
okay.
YouTube receives info.
All right. Well, that. Oh, I have to feed Yorm.
Yeah, you do.
I have to heat up the Yorm food.
Snakes gotta eat.
Snakes gotta eat. You're here to me. Oh, thanks,
Oh.
Dan.
All right. But on that note, YouTube seems to be giving us some issues.
YouTube doesn't
tonight.
want us to talk about this anymore, so we're gonna end it here.
But if there's anything else we missed, you guys want to discuss, leave a comment. We'll get back to you.
Yeah. Comment your questions or whatever. If I was just reading what they were saying. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Through the 4-letter bad word.
A fetus. Not quite that simple.
Wait, are all of his Horcrux victims women? I mean, yeah, I guess so.
Myrtle.
Hepzibah Smith.
Yep.
Who were his other victims? I can't remember now.
Bertha. Lily.
Oh yeah, Bertha
Technically
Jorgen.
Lily, I guess, if you want to get
Technically
into that
Lily.
argument. Well, I don't think a fetus is necessary. We discussed the Horcrux thing at length. You can check out our live stream and our video about what we think about Horcruxes being made. and let us
But that
know.
is one thing that I'm like, yeah, all of his victims were women, which maybe goes along with the whole serial killer thing, since women tended to be the
Voldemort is Ted Bundy. Changed my mind.
yeah.
Oh my god, all these Ted Bundy parallels just keep coming and coming.
You're very welcome, Melanie.
Yes,
Sorry
you're
that
welcome.
we were having some issues here.
I know.
Feel like we could
But
have talked about more.
we could have kept going, but yeah, if you have any questions or anything else y'all want to discuss, leave it in the comments, and we will see you all again next week.
Yeah, Melanie and his father and his grandparent. That's true, but we don't know which one of those made the Horcrux. It could have been his grandmother.
Mm.
But all right.
See you next week.
See you guys next week. Everyone,
All
have
right.
a good night.
Yep. Thank you, hey lady.
Thank you.